Okay, let's go. Let's go ahead and start. Good afternoon. We're getting ready to begin. Welcome, everyone. I am Sharon Green Middleton, Vice President of the City Council, representative for the 6th Council District, and Chairperson of the Economic and Community Development Committee. This afternoon, we have one bill that we're hearing, and it's 23-0388. And in attendance today for members of the committee, we have John Bullock of the 9th District, Ryan Dorsey of the 3rd District, and also sponsor of the bill. Thank you, Madam Chair. And also Odette Ramos of the 14th District. Madam Chair. Representatives of the President's Office. Is there anyone online? Okay. Moving on, representatives of the Office of the Mayor, we have Sophia G. And let's begin. Bill number 23-0388, but before I do that, I do want to recognize some visitors that I noticed early this morning. And Councilwoman Ramos said it's the Bunting Fellows. So if you could just stand, and thank you, you're coming to observe today. Thank you for coming. Thank you for what you do for the city as well. And we also have 3 youth workers from Councilman Torrance's office, and thank you for coming and sitting in. We have a light hearing today. We usually have 3-4 bills, but this is just one. So again, bill number 23-0388 is an Urban Renewal Lauraville Business District Amendment 1. For the purpose of amending the urban renewal plan for the Lauraville Business District to extend the life of the plan, waiving certain content and procedural requirements, making the provisions of this ordinance severable, and providing for the application of the ordinance in conjunction with certain other ordinances, and providing for a special effective date. This bill was introduced on May 15th, 2023. This bill was sponsored by Councilmember Dorsey, and at this time we'll have Councilmember Dorsey make comments on the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The irony of this bill is that amendment number 1 to this urban renewal plan is obviously the first ever, and what it's doing is changing a provision in it that says that the urban renewal plan exists for 20 years from the point at which it was last amended, except that the amendment that I'm making is to remove that provision so that it doesn't last for another 20 years, it only lasts for 1 more year. The urban renewal plan for Lauraville was created 19 and a half years ago and will expire, if unamended, this October. And what we are doing with this bill is just extending that sunset from this October to next October and removing the provision that says that it lasts for 20 years from the point of the last amendment. And that is all that this bill does. And just for those who may be curious, why are we not just letting this thing die? Why are we not extending this thing for 20 years? Why are we not amending all of the provisions of this urban renewal plan when all of these things have been happening with urban renewal plans throughout the city, allowing them to sunset or to alter them in big or small ways? I have an alternative proposal that I've not yet finished preparing, but that I've discussed with some community folks who like the existence of the urban renewal plan, but I have what I think is a better alternative to an urban renewal plan, and I just have not yet finished having it drafted, and expect to have that introduced in the next month or so. Hopefully we get that passed before this urban renewal plan expires in October of 2024 to replace it. All that said, I just do want to say thanks to Carmen Morrison from the Planning Department for all of her work with the citizen review panel and proponents of urban renewal plans in Lauraville. I want to thank Matt Peters for helping us to know exactly what we need to do to post this, and to my staff member Sumner Weiss for going out there and hammering stakes into the ground to put up the necessary signs and dealing with the newspaper posting and all that. And thank you, Madam Chair, for calling the hearing and allowing me to introduce the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to recognize Aaron DeGraffenreid online, which is representing the Council President's Office, and also another member of the committee, Robert Stokes of the 12th District. And now, before we take on testimony, we want to hear, the committee would now hear from agency representatives. And we're going to start with the City Solicitor's Office, Elena DePietro.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Elena DePietro from the Baltimore City Law Department. The Law Department noted in its bill report that there is notice requirements in both the UR code provisions and in the plan itself, and provided those are complied with, the Law Department can approve the bill for form of legal sufficiency.
Thank you. That report is favorable. Planning Commission. Sure, doesn't matter. Press that button on the right.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I am Carmen Morrison from Baltimore City Planning Department. This bill has been reviewed by the Planning Commission, and they recommended approval. Of course, staff has also a favorable recommendation to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Any questions for Carmen from? Hearing none, thank you.
Thank you.
When you come in representing the Planning Department, please, you can sit up front at any of these. Okay, thank you. Department of Housing and Community Development.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, Stephanie Murdoch, Director of Legislative Services for DHCD. We stand by our bill report. We do not object to the passage of this bill.
Okay, another favorable report. Department of Public Works.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Marcia Collins and Janelle Mummy from the Department of Public Works. We reviewed the bill and are in support of its passage. Thank you.
Thank you. Another favorable report. Department of Transportation.
Madam Chair, Liam Davis, Baltimore City Department of Transportation. We stand by our bill report, which is no objection.
Thank you. Favorable. Baltimore Development Corporation.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Micah Fetz for the Baltimore Development Corporation. The BDC stands by its report. The report is favorable.
Thank you. Commission for Historical and Architectural Preservation. Sophia.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Thank you. CHAP has no objection to this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Do committee members have any comments or questions at this point? And I do want to recognize another member of the committee, Antonio Glover of the 13th District.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Councilwoman Ramos, question.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question for the sponsor. You're just asking for a year extension. You're obviously going to come back to us with a proposal on either extending or amendments to the URP, correct?
That's not exactly what I have in mind.
Okay.
A replacement of the URP with a zoning overlay district to cover the whole Harford Road corridor. The Harford Road corridor has what I would say are 3 or 4 different segments to it, from Argonne Drive north to Baltimore, the Baltimore County line. So this urban renewal plan covers from Argonne Drive to Echodale, the area that is kind of organized by the Lauraville Business Association. And then there's a completely separate urban renewal plan that begins at Echodale and goes into Hamilton, almost to Glenmore Avenue, where the Hamilton Branch Library is. And there's a whole other business association for that, the Hamilton Business Association. And that's the reason why Harford Road has what we call Hamilton-Lauraville Main Streets, because they address both of these urban renewal plan areas and both of these business association areas. And then there's everything north of what's not covered by the Hamilton Urban Renewal Plan, basically from the Hamilton Branch Library up to Northern Parkway, and from Northern Parkway all the way up to the county line. And having one set of circumstances in Lauraville and a different set of circumstances
sounds like
in
a mess.
Hamilton, and a whole different set of circumstances north of Hamilton up to Parkville is, it's just not cohesive. And when you look at the corridor as a whole, it's not suffering the same, it's not suffering different detriments. It's working under the same set of conditions along the whole corridor. And so what I plan is to propose some things that I think that will work better. And whereas an urban renewal plan can only say no to things that the underlying law would allow, a zoning overlay district would allow us to say yes to things that the underlying code would otherwise prohibit. And that's what I intend to do, is put forth a zoning overlay district that would allow for some new uses in the area.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we had a precursor to what we're going to be seeing later on from you. And I guess a year is enough time?
I sincerely hope so. We're going to try to get this thing introduced in the next month or so.
Thank you.
Any
Thank you.
added comments from the Planning Commission on what the councilman just described?
No comments from the Planning Commission for the future plans. They just approved the extension for 1 year, but they have not been presented with an alternative.
Thank you. Any further questions from any other committee members? Hearing none, the committee will now take public testimony. If you are online and would like to testify on this bill, please use the raise hand button to let us know. And we're going to start with those that have signed in person to testify. And we do not have any in-person signees, but Matt is going to check one more time. Okay. We do not have any in person. And now we're going to check for online attendees, and then also, after that, the telephone callers. Checking to see if anyone is online. No, not online. Any telephone callers? And there are no callers. Committee members, any further comments? Is there a motion to recommend the bill favorable?
Second.
So moved by Councilman Dorsey, second by Councilwoman Ramos. Chair Middleton, yes. Bullock? Yes. Is a yes. Conway, excused absent. Dorsey? Yes. Is a yes. Glover? Yes. Is a yes. Ramos? Yes. Is a yes. And Stokes? Oh, right on time. We're voting. Councilman Stokes, are you? Yes. Is a yes. Okay, this bill will go on second reader at the next council meeting. Thank you once again for attending today's hearing, and this hearing is now adjourned.